In this video, we are going to see iron and steel factories come up in India. In year 1904, the hot month of April, Charles Welt, an American geologist and Dorabji Tata, the eldest son of the Jamshedji Tata, were traveling in Chhattisgarh in search of iron ore deposit. The one of the American geologist and Tata's one of the member, Dorabji Tata, they are traveling through in Chhattisgarh in search of iron ore. And who started Jamshedpur Tata steel industry? That is, you will get more information in geography textbook also. It is there. That time you will study more about Jamshedpur. Okay. They had spent many months on a costly venture looking for a source of good iron ore to set up a modern iron and steel plant in India. And Jamshedji Tata had decided to spend a large part of his fortune to build a big iron and steel industry in India. Tata, they are thinking like that. They are we can make a steel and iron plant here, and by that we can provide maximum job opportunities to the people, as well as we can means invest some money for a better purpose. But this could not be done without identifying source of fine quality iron ore. So to start a basic iron and steel industry or aluminum industry, or like that any mineral based industry, we want to find out a good quality of ore of a particular thing. Here they want to find out iron ore. One day, after traveling of many hours in the forest, Welt and Dorabji came up in a small village and found a group of men and women carrying basket load of iron ore. These people were Agaris. When asked where they had found the iron ore, the Agaris pointed a hill in the distance. Welt and Dorabji reached in the hill after an exhausting trek through a dense forest, and on exploring the hill, the geologist declared that they had at last found what they had been looking for. Rajhara Hills had one of the finest ore in the world. We are having the they find out with the help of tribal people. They are finding out the where they will get the finest ore, and then Rajgara Hills, that is the where we are getting the finest ore in the world. But there was a problem. The region was dry and water necessary for running a factory was not be found nearby. Where they find out the fine iron ore, there was no water availability. For what purpose? To start a factory. The Tatas had to continue the search for more suitable place to set up their factory. However, Garius helped to discover a source of iron ore that would later supply the Bilais steel plant. From where that tribal group again helping that Tata group to find out the place where they can start the company. A few years later, a large area of forest was cleared on the banks of the river Subarnarega to set up a factory and industrial township, that is Jamshedpur. You will study about Jamshedpur in geography again. Here there was water near iron deposit, and the Tata and Iron Steel Company, that is Tisco, that came up began producing steel in 1912. When they started their journey, that is 1904. Then they taken 8 years to start a factory to find out iron ore, to get a place with water availability. Tisco was set up an opportune time. All through the late 19th century, India was importing steel that was manufactured in Britain. Expansion of railway in India had provided a huge market for rails that Britain produced. Why we was bringing iron from Britain? Because of the starting of the railway service. Then British expert in India railway was unwilling to believe that the good quality of steel could be produced in India. Then British later they understood like that when they can produce a good quality of iron here in India itself. Then by the time Tisco was set up, the situation was changing. 1914, the First World War broke out. Steel produced in Britain now had to meet a demand for the war in Europe. They started to produce the war equipment in Europe itself, so they can't send iron to India for the railway purpose. So they decided to purchase iron and steel from Tisco. So after they dragged on the several years, Tisco had to produce shell and carriage wheels for the war. Last they are getting the chance to produce the things what is needed for war also. First, the East India Company started to purchase steel from Tisco for the railway purpose. Then later they are purchasing steel for they given permission to produce the weapons here in Tisco. Then by 1919, the colonial government was buying 90% of the steel manufactured in Tisco. Over time, Tisco became the largest steel industry within the British Empire. Even Tisco itself, British company started to purchase 90%. By that, Tisco became the one of the biggest steel industry within the British Empire. Wherever they are having colony, in that India's Tisco become the biggest one. In the case of iron and steel, as in the case of cotton textile, industrial expansion occurred only when British imports into India declined and the market for Indian goods increased. When the export it is means the British started when it is declined in the time of First World War. Cotton they can't send to India, even iron they can't send. When in that situation, what is happening again? Indian industry it is started to develop. This happening during the First World War and after. When it happened in means the development in Indian industry, that is in the time of First World War and afterwards. As the nationalist movement developed and industrial class became stronger, the nationalist movement also developing very faster under the leadership of Gandhiji. We are calling it Gandhian era. At the same time, the one side, the industrial classes that also becoming stronger. The demand for the government protection became louder. So the industrialists as well as nationalists, they are asking for the same thing. We want to get the protection from the government. Struggling to retain its control over India, the British government had to concede many of these demands in the last decades of the colonial rule. In 1930s onwards, we can see the British government started to give some protection or ready to give a permission to do what they want for the nationalist movement, what they asked. According to that Constituent Assembly, they started then giving protection to the industries. Then we can see early years of the industrialization in Japan. What happened in Japan? The history of the industrialization of Japan in the late 19th century, a peasant's contrast to that of India. The colonial state in India, keen to expand the market for the British goods, was unwilling to support Indian industrialists. In India, what happened? The colonial time, the Indian village people or we ourselves, we was not ready to help the Indian industrialists to expand. Instead of that, we was purchasing things from British market, or we was giving we wholeheartedly we open and given the British market here for the British people. In Japan, the state encouraged the growth of industry. In the same time, what happened? The Japan people, they help each other. They encourage the growth of the industries of the state. The Meijing reign, which assured power in Japan in 1868, believed that Japan needed to industrialize in order to resist Western domination. So the Japan, they decided they want to resist the Western domination, means the British or European power domination. For that purpose, what they are asking, they want to make the industrialized country in Japan. So it initiated a series of measures to help the industrialization. So Japan, what they are deciding, they decided to start many industries there. postal service, telegraph, railway, steam powered shipping were developed. What all things they are developing? Postal service, telegraph, railway, steam powered shipping. All these things here in India, who started? British people started. The most advanced technology from the west was imported and adapted in the to the needs of Japan. What they are doing, they are going and learning the technology from the western countries, the western country, from European countries, and they are adapting that one in Japan. Foreign experts were brought to train Japanese professionals. What they are calling the professionals to train the Japan people. And industrialists were provided with generous loans for the investment by the banks to set up the government. The industrialists, they was ready to give money invest by bank, with the help of bank, to make a strong government there in Japan. Large industries were the first started by the government and then sold off the a cheap rate to the business families. First it is starting by the government, then later they are selling to the business families itself. In India, colonial domination created barriers to industrialization. At the same time, here we face the prevention from the British people or from the colonial power. In Japan, fear of foreign conquest spurred industrialization, but this also meant that the Japanese industrial development from the beginning was linked to the military need. Why, for what purpose they made the industry? That is for to protect themselves from the western power. So they thought like that, to prevent the western power, they starting their industry that also related to military. And here in India, we was preventing the Indian industrialists. Instead of that, we open and given the big market to the British goods here in India. So in the same time, industrialization here and in Japan it is starting, but in Japan we can see far before itself, means we are starting our industry activities like a sugar factory or cotton factory, that is end of the 19th century. But in the mid of the 19th century itself, Japan, they started to develop their country with the help of industrialization. Okay, by that we are completing this lesson. Then please write the question answer. Only four question answer you want to write. What kinds of clothes had large market in Europe? Then what is jamdani? Then what is bandana? Then what is agaria? We already discussed all these points. Please write this one into your notebook. Let's recall and fill in the blanks that you can do in textbook itself. Thank you. Have a nice day.